We're down to the Africa Cup of Nations final between Nigeria and Ivory Coast on Sunday, February 11th at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Super Eagles meeting the host, the Elephants. Now, no host nation has won since Egypt back in 2006, so that's something Ivory Coast will be looking to change this time around. However, the odds would say it might not happen, as Nigeria will come into this game slightly favored at plus 170, Ivory Coast being plus 200, the draw being plus 187. Now, to advance by any means and eat extra time or PKs, Nigeria is minus 125, Ivory Coast minus 106. Odds say there will not be too many goals. The under 2.5 is favored at minus 250, over plus 187. Both teams to score yes, plus 125, and both teams to score no, minus 175. In the semifinals for Nigeria, Truce Ekbom's 67th minute PK looked like it would be enough to advance Super Eagles, but South Africa tied with a PK of their own late in the game in the 90th minute. That game then would go on to PKs, where Nigeria won 4-2. For Ivory Coast in the semifinals, it was all square until Sebastian Haller opened his account in the tournament in the 65th minute, which proved to be enough to get the 1-0 win over DR Congo. This was a tight game where both teams only had 2 shots on target. For players to score in this game, the odds favor Osimhen from Nigeria at plus 220, Haller next at Ivory Coast at plus 275, Paul Anachu from Nigeria at plus 300, and then Jean-Philippe Crasso of Ivory Coast, Kelechi Iheanacho from Nigeria, and Nicolas Pepe of Ivory Coast at plus 133 odds each. For Nigeria, they have just 3 scorers in this tournament. Lookman has 3, Trist Ekbom has 2, both coming from PKs, and Osimhen has just 1. Ivory Coast have 6 different scorers, but all of them have just 1 goal each, so very hard to pick who could be a good scoring prop there. Head-to-head between these teams, it's been very even, with the teams each winning 9 times to go with 10 draws. If you look more recently across their last 8, it's been very close as well, with Ivory Coast holding a slight edge, 4 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. Now, when they met in the group stage, this will be a rematch of a group stage game in this tournament, Ivory Coast had most of the possession, was 65%, but had just 3 shots on target. Meanwhile, Nigeria only had 1 shot on target, but it was all they needed. It was a goal, and that was a PK goal. Now let's look at the results from these teams. Nigeria, they drew 1-1. They won 1-0. That was against Ivory Coast. They won 1-0, but needed an own goal to get that win. They won 2-0, won 1-0, and drew 1-1, and it was a PK win. So they have been getting by, but just barely. The defense has definitely been better than it was expected to be this tournament, keeping a ton of clean sheets as well. Ivory Coast games have also been pretty close. They won 2-0. They lost 1-0 against Nigeria. They lost 4-0. They drew 1-1, winning in PKs. Won 2-1, but that was against Mali in the quarterfinals, and they needed 2 stoppage time goals very late in the game to get that win, and then won 1-0 last round. Nigeria's kept clean sheets in 4 of their last 5 games. The under is a perfect 6-0 in this AFCON. They're 9-4-1 going back before this tournament in their last 14. They managed to score a goal in 13-14 games. On the Ivory Coast side, they scored in 11 of 12 games themselves. There's been 2 or more goals in their matches, 13 of the last 17 games. And the under has also been cashing like crazy for them at AFCON this tournament, going 5-1. So that would be 5-1 for them, 6-0 for Nigeria. It's been all unders when these teams play. So if we look at the best bet in this game, like I said, it's been a ton of unders. That won't get you a ton of money, being minus 250. Both teams seem to be doing just enough to get by here. I would say Nigeria has been the slightly better team, but then Ivory Coast will come in with that home field advantage and just seem to be getting by, doing just enough to get wins and draws and getting to this stage. So I think this game will be a stalemate, making the draw a good bet at plus 187, and then from there, either could go on to win past that. That will wrap up the AFCON. If you enjoyed all of this AFCON coverage and picks throughout the tournament, be sure to subscribe to the channel to get more soccer picks all year long, as well as picks in other major tournaments. Good luck with your AFCON final picks.